Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Hamza Idris.
Thank you.
Yes, I think I will start with Commodore Gobwet. If you can hear me, in the last couple of weeks, there is an aura of peace in almost all the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. From your findings, from your experience, from your interactions with all the stakeholders, what is really responsible for this aura of peace across the country?
First of all, let me thank you for having me on this program. And Trust TV or Daily Trust as an entity is one medium that we in Nigerian Air Force respect a lot. And we've appreciated dealing with you guys for quite a long time. Indeed, I saw the weekly security review you did today in today's Daily Trust. And obviously, I tried to find whether we'll see anywhere marked red, and everywhere is just looking green, which based on your map, green means there is chances of 0 to 1, incidents of terrorism. But that in itself is a very, very good pass mark for the armed forces. And there is nothing other than to state here that the reason why we've been seeing this level of successes is purely because of the dedication and the determination of members of armed forces who are being superintended upon by a team of 4 very senior officers who have shown Nigerians that they are ready to get this security situation under check. And of that, I'm talking about the Chief of Defense Staff and the service chiefs. We all are aware that since they came on board, they have been able to let Nigerians know that under them, jointness, collaboration, and synergy will be what will be guiding them and their troops as they find ways of decimating the terrorists that have continued to make life unbearable for all Nigerians. And I believe it's the effect of that cooperation and synergy that we are beginning to see. Of course, it couldn't have happened a month or 2 after they took office, but I think basically what we're seeing is the result of hard work, the result of commitment, the result of synergy, the result of coordination that we're seeing. And when you look at the entire setting of all our operational theaters, you see that everybody is working hand in hand. There is no seniority, there is no this idea of one agency trying to fight for a single trophy and all of that. We all know that the trophy is to make sure that the environment is safe for our peace-loving Nigerians to go about their normal businesses. So in a nutshell, we're seeing the outcome of cooperation and synergy and jointness is being exhibited in the theaters of operation.
All right. Thank you very much. I will come back to you. AIG, you heard what the Air Commodore said.
That's true.
Yes, that everywhere is green. You served in the armed forces before.
The police.
Yes, now you watched from the outside. And as I asked him, in the last couple of weeks, we have seen peace, let me put it mildly. And in our paper, for instance, we reported on Sunday how some Boko Haram fighters drowned in a river in Bama, that is the central part of Borno. And today, we also reported, because of operations by military operators, about 200 Boko Haram fighters have been neutralized. Let me use your language. What is your take? What is really happening, maybe? Because you watch from the outside, but I'm sure you are also an insider up till now.
What we are beginning to witness is very reassuring. And like when I've had occasions to address the issues of insecurity in Nigeria, I've always remarked on one thing, and I'm happy my brother, the Commodore, emphasized it. Not working in silos, but working collaboratively in a coordinated fashion. Once you do that, you are going to see results. Once you get, you follow the path of intelligence, and you action them, you follow the path of technology, ICT, you are going to get a result. Once you have the confidence and the respect of our various communities and people, you are going to have result. And once you have the resources, and the government begin to up the resources in terms of equipment, in terms, again, of welfare, all these are motivating factors. And so, when I watched the briefing by the Minister of Information and his counterparts in Defense Police and Interior, is very reassuring. What the language you see from there is that we are together.
Yeah.
That's. And I have had calls to talk about it. People have got to know what you are doing. That gives them assurance.
Yeah.
That gives them, that makes them understand that something is being done. And I pray that this is not going to be the last of such a briefing. I'm happy the Minister of Information said it's that the briefings are going to be regular. But like we have always emphasized, once you begin to get things under control, it is the time to work harder. It's like when I was walking into the studio, I saw your beautiful lawn outside.
Yes.
If you don't keep it trimmed and you think, oh, you have a beautiful lawn, it's going to begin to grow weeds and it will be distorted.
Yes.
So what the situation we are witnessing presently emphasizes is that we've got to work harder in order to sustain this level of quietness and calmness. And it's very reassuring because for a long time I've not read that Abuja
Security
Kaduna
breach,
Road has been breached, and that all we've been hearing is some drowned in some criminals, terrorists drowned in a river, some disseminated, some neutralized. I think these are news that will be reassuring, and it will encourage Nigerians to come forward with information, because when you think there is capacity for rapid response, it will encourage you to come forward. So let the security agencies work collaboratively. No need seeking vainglory. All we are trying to do is keep our country safe and secure so that we can attract foreign direct investment and our people can go about their normal lawful business without being tensed.
Yes, the unnecessary tense. Yeah. General Kukasheka, if you can hear me, today there was a briefing, as the AIG rightly pointed out, and the Minister of Information was there, Minister of Interior was there, Minister of Police Affairs was also there, among other key government operatives. And the takeaways, too, the Minister of Interior made mention that by December, they are optimistic that they will wipe out the remnants of Boko Haram, terrorists, ISWAP, and other criminals, especially in northeast and northwest. And then the second issue he mentioned was that this is the best of time for Nigerians. What is your perspective on this prediction?
I think, first and foremost, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to, be part of this very important program. Yes, we have been witnessing quite unprecedented success in, counter-insurgency operations, and of course, the fight against various security challenges, especially that of banditry and kidnapping. But that notwithstanding, I would rather not use the word wipe out, by December. It is very tall order, but at the same time, I remain very, very optimistic in the sense that the security forces are doing marvelously well, and I can attest to that given the fact that I have a first-hand information of what is going on, especially in the northeastern part of the country and the northwestern part of the country and some other places. I think we need to support and encourage them to also give them benefit of doubt. They are working towards a determined end of making Nigeria safe and secure. And I have no doubt about the fact that before December, definitely we will notice more improvement in terms of peace and security in this country, because the security forces are doing marvelous effort. And if I may add to what Edward had earlier mentioned about jointness and level of cooperation and support among the security architecture, I think there is also one important aspect that we tend not to understand. You know, the level of proactiveness and responsiveness on the part of the security forces. Whenever there are issues, you know, Nigerians are becoming more enlightened and more concerned about security challenges and more cooperative. And once they passed out information, definitely it is not taken with levity. I know that they act right from the Chief of Defense Staff, he mentioned, down to the service chiefs and the various commanders of the field, they almost immediately react. I know that they are facing challenges, but I think they are doing their utmost best, and that is what the Honorable Minister is hinging on. Suffice to mention, actually, there is so much on the part of us Nigerians to continue to support the security forces, because the whole thing is a collective responsibility. The security forces are constrained by technology, numbers, and other things. Therefore, average Nigerians will complement that by being more security conscious and having faith and trust in the security agencies, so that they will, oblige them with timely and accurate information about issues and support them in any way they can to ensure that they do the right thing. And beyond that, again, there is issue of looking at security as a collective responsibility, especially among those who are statutorily responsible.
Politics, yeah. Maybe I should start with Dr. Hakim. What should we understand by public service reform? A big one.
And it is. It's first, let's start with public service. There are two components of the service that have been merged into public service. You have the mainstream civil service, people who are employed by the federal government in generally career positions, who perform the basic services that we associate with civil service. They do basic routine work of governance. They advise the political level. They provide policy stability. They create a policy environment that sustains governance. We remember the political level is relatively fast changing.
Yes.
People come and go, politicians, and civil servants do the nitty-gritty work of governance. Now, the other component of public service are people who hold other elective or appointive positions in governance.
Okay.
Even the president is a public servant. Okay. People who are generally considered to be outside the civil service, but organically related to the civil service, and who operate with the civil service and operate with the same values. And I think in the last 20 years, the administration of President Obasanjo changed the civil service rule, okay, and made it into the public service rule, okay, and brought some semblance of similarity and uniformity in terms of the rules governing the civil service, as well as many of the parastatals and agencies of government, as well as some of the operations and conduct of public officers. There are other agencies that give the public service its identity, agencies that are supposed to oversee the public service, not just the civil service. Now you have the Civil Service Commission, but there are also there are those that oversee the actual functioning of public service. My brother's job here has to do with that wider mandate. Yeah. So reform here, again, it's a big issue. Some reforms are comprehensive. for instance, the attempt that have been made for the last 10 years under the so-called Orasanya report to reform the public
which we'll actually discuss.
Yes, which we will discuss. That may be reform, but there have been other initiatives or changes that are introduced, either single-handedly, I mean, alone on their own, or dramatic in many ways, that represent deep-seated reforms. Some of them are done quietly. Their effects are profound. Some of them are done with a lot of noise, a lot of heat. But reform here simply means affecting change in the manner, either routine or extraordinary manner in which the public service operates. Good. So public service reforms refers to changes or shifts in the way either the foundational philosophies or operations are done, or the effects that are expected to be gotten from there.
Thank you very much. DG, yes, in August 2021, during a meeting with directors of reform coordination and service improvements in MDS, you said the new Nigeria National Strategy for Public Service Reform, the acronym NSPSR, will provide a common vision for rebuilding and transformation of the federal public service in the country. This was August 2021. How far have you gone with that movement?
Well, thank you very much. Let me add to what my senior brother has stated. Reforms in a wider perspective is just aims by government to change the way things are done by public servants or government workers, the structure of the institutions of government, and to address new challenges that emerge in the process of growth of human beings, communities, countries, and services. Now, the Bureau has been working around a document that we call the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms. Yeah. Certainly, if any house that is built without a plan,
it will collapse.
It will collapse.
Yeah.
So that has been our working document over the years. And NSPSR has 4 pillars. Pillar 1 is looking at socio-economic environment. How do we make the agencies of government to be user-friendly, corruption-free, very neat, well-organized, with a system that is working. Pillar 2 is looking at national development plans. For many years, Nigeria had dropped out from countries that were running or managing development plans. BPSI came with that and make it the center of focus of Pillar 2 of the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms. We're glad and always happy to say that it was that document that laid the foundation for the ERGP that this government came up with, and the current National Development Plan that is being implemented. Pillar 3 is looking at public financial management. When the Permanent Secretary was in service, they're among the crazy guys in the service that were selected to drive radical reforms that seemed almost impossible. When they were saying pay slips, payrolls, everything will be digitalized, a lot of people then thought himself, Adego Roy, and others were crazy. Now, what have we done in the last 10, 15, 20 years? We have succeeded in digitalizing public financial management 100%. No agency, no ministry of government uses paper to raise voucher for payments for any other thing that it's done. So if we look at that pillar, we have succeeded 100% in achieving what we have set for ourselves. Budget processes have been improved, digitalized by a certain percentage. Procurement, a lot of improvement from due process to Bureau of Public Procurement, Bureau of Public Enterprises, power reforms. And beyond that, we had gone as government or as public service over the years to improve generation, management of taxes by Federal Inland Revenue Service. Within the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms, we've said we want to have a public service that by the year 2025 will be among the first 20.
In the next 3 years.
Yes, will be among the first 20 leading services in the world.
20?
Yes. Now, how do we do that? We have identified agencies of government that we call building blocks that have already reached that level of world standard, yes, excellence. And it's just a pity that we are not doing well around corporate communication. But we have some of them that on weekly basis, monthly basis, have people visiting from other countries to see how Nigeria has succeeded in introducing Treasury Single Account, BVN, and other reforms that are around Pillar 3 of the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms. Pillar 4 is looking at the core civil service. As the Permanent Secretary has said, they are the ones that develop policies, they lay the environment, they drive and supervise parastatals of government. Now, what we are doing there is to see how we transform the civil service to be an agile service that is ready for change, that is ready to operate under this rapid changing environment. Along this line, government, we have introduced performance management system to hold public servants responsible, to hold them, to make them accountable, and to know that beyond coming to work and sign a register, somebody is going to ask you around your KPIs, whether you have performed or you have not performed.
And they are measurable.
Yes, they are measurable. Beyond this, we have introduced succession planning and mentorship, so that we'll have the younger ones groomed, trained, ready to take over position of leadership as the seniors are existing. You cannot have a public service that is working if the skills needed are not entrenched. So around that, we've introduced quite a lot of capacity development programs, Smart P, Lead P, so that
which we'll also discuss more on. But I want, Doctor, to say something, because the DG has said some reforms, the initiatives, different categories. But out there is this impression that there is system collapse, to use it mildly, in the civil service. And this prompted government at all levels. You see them as, forming ad hoc committees to do certain things, which ordinarily level 7, 8, 9 officers in the main civil service should do. Do you really agree there is institutional collapse in Nigeria?
Well, there's collapse of virtually all critical institutions in Nigeria, without any doubt. The last decade has been a decade of major setbacks for Nigeria. Virtually all public, including security and law and order institutions, including the judiciary. There is no organ involved in governance that has not suffered massive setbacks. So I think that there was very little to argue about that. Whether the public service or the civil service has suffered a collapse, but certainly I think it's inevitable. See, by its nature, the civil service is substantially unprotected if its leadership is vulnerable to the schemes and the designs of the political level. That's the first thing. Its rules alone don't protect it. And civil service, public service rules are very powerful, they're very strong. But if the political level wants to breach it and pollute or corrupt the civil service, either because they don't like the leadership of the civil service or the public service, or they want to increase the scope for patronage, they want more access into public service revenues, or they don't understand how the public service, civil service works, and they just want to change things. We used to work with ministers who would walk into your office as a permanent secretary and say, listen, you have 35 years to retire. I have only 4 years to go. So don't stop telling me everything is not possible. Stop telling me all possible. So if the political level can protect the public service, the public service will do well.
Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics. And today we're looking at crowdfunding with particular reference to the controversies, if you like, around the recent effort by the Labour Party and its candidate to go crowdfunding for the 2023 elections. And now we have in the studio Dr. Inisa Tanko. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Though slightly late anyway. It's better late than never. Right. Okay. Straight away, let me start with you. you know, because the subject matter has to do with your principle, talking about Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party.
Exactly.
Why do you have to go crowdfunding, you know?
Okay. We observe that the process of our electioneering at the moment now has been that the people are the one owning our process. We are not the one owning the process. We've already came out to say we can run, we have this particular capacity. If you notice that virtually everything that we are doing is being done by the people. There are the people that make billboards for themselves. There are the people that make T-shirts for themselves. They make caps for themselves. They do virtually almost everything for themselves, which is actually the norms of politics anywhere in the international world. So crowdfunding is not something new. And we know we may not have the capacity to outsmart or outshine those who have stolen government purse to a point of stupor. So we allow the people to run the process for themselves. So crowdfunding is a normal norms that takes place. Even the former president of the United States, Obama, did crowdfunding. And besides, our political party is a social democratic party. Social democrat in party politics, meaning that it is a process in which the people own the process. And so,
because I was about to
example.
say, if it's a social democratic party, perhaps we have a political party called the Social Democratic.
No, what I mean in ideological belief is a social democratic in party.
Right. Okay, you talk about the normalcy, you know, and the fact that this is, you know, one of the best practices globally in terms of democratic experience. But what some will say is not normal is, you know, your party going into this crowdfunding initiative, irrespective of the fact that it knew perhaps that it contravenes Section 85 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And of course, the Electoral Act, Section 225 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria's Constitution and Section 85 of the amended electoral law. Why do the Labour Party contravenes this section, knowing well that it is also against the laws?
Interestingly, we did not even contravene the law. Not at all. Because the law stipulates, according to what you said, it said that if there are funding, you're talking about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding meaning that people contribute. There's nothing against the law in crowdfunding.
To who
There's
now?
No law.
There is a limit. There is a demarcation as to it has to be properly specified. If people are donating or contributing to a political party,
yes,
this particular section appears to have been contravened.
No.
But, it is only when, they are contributing to an individual, perhaps. But here you are admitting the fact that your political party is actually driving this process.
Then you say, because, yes, very correct, because when you say crowdfunding, people are owning the system, people are the one contributing. There's no law against it. There's no any section of the law that says people cannot contribute. It's just like you asking your members to pay membership dues. We know where the contraventions are. The contraventions are either we have moved beyond the limit of which we say maybe a campaign funding, which is between 5 million naira if it's for the candidate itself. And even a contravention, probably what you are trying to say is probably generating money from international community for the interest of the candidate. Even those ones who have his own law. According to a lawyer this morning, he clearly stipulates, what he says is that when you generate funds, if there are funds generated from overseas, you subject it to INEC within 24 hours. That's now, right. INEC will scrutinize to know whether those particular funding were made for any ulterior motive, or rather meant for that particular campaign. And even specific for the campaign, we have no run foul of the law.
All right. Mr. Cham Falia, your party, the APC, especially some of its support groups, were the first, to object to this. They are even calling on INEC to intervene in this respect, perhaps even disqualify the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Why is the APC taking so much interest in this?
Yeah, the APC is taking too much interest in this matter because we want everything to be done as specified by the law. Dr. Yunusa here is pushing back at your questions. He is saying it's the people that are driving the process. But I think this whole issue of receiving campaign funds
Donations, right,
from foreign sources will be litigated. And I'm sure some groups are already making moves to litigate this issue so that the law can be properly interpreted, to define it, to tell Nigerians, is it proper for a presidential candidate to receive or mobilize campaign funds from abroad, whether it be from Nigerians in the diaspora or from international groups or whatever? The thing is, the word foreign is already attached to it. Is it allowed? These are the issues that will be litigated.
But then looking at the provisions of Section 225, subsection 4, I think it clearly stated the position here that the Constitution requires that funds or other assets be remitted or sent to a political party from outside Nigeria shall be paid over or transferred to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, within 21 days.
Oh, well.
Now, again, Section 88, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act limits spending by a presidential candidate to 5 billion naira. Before we talk about limitation in terms of spendings, this section clearly spells out that, yes, a political party candidate can go out crowdfunding, if you like, outside the shores of Nigeria. But what he requires to do is perhaps to also ensure that, a political party rather, not even a candidate now, we're talking about a political party, can do this. But what it requires to do is to ensure that these funds, get to INEC within 21 days, and then INEC now do all the necessary checks and what have you. Are you also against this section?
In this case, he is not saying it's their party that is driving the process. He is now saying it is the people that are driving the process.
Well, he didn't object to the fact that his party was actually the one going out to source for this crowd. To source for these funds from its supporters within and outside the shores of Nigeria.
Their candidate is, and they as a party are supposed to moderate all these kinds of things to make sure it is done according to the law. For instance, it was in the news that they were intending to raise about $150 million from overseas, right? That's the story that has been going on.
And another 100 billion within Nigeria.
And another 100 billion within Nigeria. Now, you spelled out the law, what it says, that a presidential candidate cannot spend beyond what?
The cap, that is talking about 5 billion naira, that's right.
So if you are raising $150 million from overseas, when you convert it to the naira, it's already way beyond 5 billion naira. And if you are raising another 100 billion within Nigeria, it's way beyond 5 billion. So where do we situate this within the context of the law?
That's right. Okay, even though the party talks about the need to establish structures and what have you, but what I understand your position, your objection here or your concern, it has gone beyond the limit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's engage Alhaji Ibrahim. He happened to have experience, if you like, with this kind of crowdfunding. In fact, they are about the first set of people to bring it into a democratic experiment, sometimes in 2015. Tell us, Alhaji Ibrahim, how you found, what's your experience like going crowdfunding, and perhaps in the build-up to 2015?
Thank you very much, Nafiu. And I'm very happy to get to discussion from the party. And the man that is EPC now, which they benefited from the crowdfunding before, and now is this is what they are saying. So actually, crowdfunding is just a group of people trying to put off some funds to solve a particular problem. And there is a lot of application in the world that people use to do that kind of funding anti. But one thing people don't understand about crowdfunding: crowdfunding is an emotionally attached program. Nobody, for example, today, if you offer crowdfunding for APC, for example, or for the Labour Party or PDP, you'll find out a group of people that understand why they want to put their money. And putting their money is their commitment to the activity that they want to do. So let me help Mr. Tanko. In crowdfunding, what we have is that you can do as you like because we have different groups. What we did in APC in 2015 is that we registered almost 518 different groups, each group having a unique number. And each group is given that scratch card that we have done so that it will now contribute as a particular group. And they have a unique account that they participate to put that amount of money. And then that money is traced exactly by a single signatory into what exactly we want to do with that particular money. And now we are going to print posters, we are going to do whatever we want to do. So Mr. APC2, if I want to get him to understand what we are going to do, is that crowdfunding is something that is very difficult for you to track, to trace, and also to make a fine of whether somebody go against the system or after the system. Because what I want him to, what he don't understand, maybe the person from the APC side, maybe, and their lawyers side, now cryptocurrency, which is digital currency, is part of the system other people are going to use.
Oh, okay, welcome back, gentlemen. I think we should start with the youth leader. Did you anticipate the resignation of Senator Walid Jibrin today?
I would like to, good evening, Nigerians. I would like to first react to the way you started the seeming or ending problem of the PDP. You see, journalists are very fond of marketing their stations and their brand. So when they use big sensational words like that to create issues that are non-existent, it's just to attract followership and followings and ratings. The truth is that the PDP is a very organic party, and it's a party that has seen it all. And it's a party that's large enough to surmount any internal issues that people perceive to be unending, which has been put pay to. You see, truth be told, no one can say this was preempted or this was not preempted. But again, the man, like you said, had a 5-year tenure that is running out in a few weeks. He has said for personal reasons and for the larger interest of the party, he wants to take a rest, that he's getting old. You won't fault him. He's the one that knows how his organs and the system works. He's also the one that also knows how much he can sacrifice for the greater good of the party. But by and large, the party is firm, is united, forgetting the distractions. Like Shafiq concluded in his interview, the party is moving on.
Yeah.
And we're on our way to rescue and rebuild this nation, Nigeria.
And this is where I will ask my co-uncle, Shafiq, did you expect what happened today at the National Secretariat of the party when you went to cover the meeting?
Actually, I'm aware of the schemings, if you like, or the issues around possible resignation of the BOT chairman. But I didn't, believe it until I heard from him that he's actually throwing the towel. But then fundamentally, we all know that, before now, the push, if you like, or the concern or the agitation by the Wiki camp is for the national chairman to vacate his seat. So surprisingly, we now saw the BOT chairman, resigning. But some say it's still in line with the demands. Okay. But I don't know how that adds up to what the Wiki camp want.
See, it is, like I said, when you sensationalize some issues far above how it should be, it takes a life of its own at most times. When you say the Wiki camp, in the Wiki camp is very big and strong as people want to perceive. They will form a political party of their own. You cannot be inside the PDP and have a camp. The PDP is one indivisible party. Governor Wiki, with all due respect to him, has been a long-standing member of this PDP family. So when you say camp, I don't think you are doing a favor.
We're talking about a governor and three other serving governors who are his co-travelers.
I'm coming, sir. you cannot conclude. That I'm here in this studio with you today doesn't mean I'm a co-traveler with you. I don't know where you're going to. The truth is that Governor Wike, like I said, is one governor amongst myriads of governors of the PDP family. As governor, if he has friends amongst his governor colleagues, it doesn't mean they share the same ideology. It doesn't mean they are on the same page. Mind you, most of these governors are senatorial candidates of the party. They have not taken tent on other platform. These very elections, one is running for re-election. So, on which platform are they all running? It's the PDP. In whose interest should the PDP be united? All of us. So,
but then it is obvious. We've seen, the absence of those governors that we're talking about, including Wike, and at the same time today, you also at the commissioning side talked about
Nahuda,
talking about the fact that you will continue to talk about this injustice, which means that the party, the crisis is yet to be over. Let's hear Governor Wike.
Yeah. I told Nigerians before, at the appropriate time I was going to speak, but now that things are coming out, let me be revealing small to you people, so that you know the kind of country we are in, and you know how to see yourself. Are you part of this country? Are you said if the presidential candidate comes from the north, that he will resign by the convention of our party, that the candidate of our party, the chairman of our party, will come from the south. When the North Central met in the house of Governor Balab Muhammad, Governor Bauchi State, he said so there. When he made a caucus of the Senate, he told them that. Now, when we finish our convention on a Saturday to Sunday, the candidate of the party came to see me in my house in Abuja on Monday, around 10:30 a.m. And that's what I don't like in this country. The candidate told me, I said, listen, I want us to work together. And then he said, look, you must go. I said, why? He said, because when a candidate comes from the north, the chairman will come from the south. And I'm saying, implement what you told me. What offense have I committed? What offense have I committed?
Okay, we've heard what Wike has to say, and you can see from the passion, from the way he talks, is talking like a wounded lion, some would say. But let me get the reaction of Bakari Gamshi. This is a party you're coming into with this so much crisis, internal crisis, and then fundamentally it's brewed along the lack of justice, as Wike has said. He was talking about the leadership of the party and how it is composed as against the fair and balancing that is required. How would you respond to that?
Thank you very much. You're asking me to delve into an ocean that I don't have knowledge of. I can only say I'm hearing about PDP from far, but it's not surprising within the next few days, few weeks, if I find myself in there. But as of now, what I see is an internal conflict, internal wrangling. Even in a house, in a family, you will see there could be conflicts, and the tempers will rise and all this thing. But when it comes to the real thing, they will sit down and resolve their problems. We have seen it in this country. This is not the first time they have this thing. Wike, I believed he contributed a lot in upholding the dignity of this party, PDP, all this time. So if he feels aggrieved by what happened of recent about the appearance of the party chairman, the presidential candidate on this thing, there is time to heal. Government is not only one position. It's not only one prospect or aspect. Wike has a lot to contribute to PDP to clinch power. And when it comes, it's not only Atiku that is going to be running this government. Even other parties that may not have supported him, he can bring some this thing. Because what is it? Right now, what we have in this country is all PDP offshoots. If you take the president now, President Buhari, he's the one I know he has never been in PDP. But all the others.
Maybe there could be one or two.
Well, maybe. But all the major stakeholders, most of the governors in the APC were in PDP. And they jumped because they couldn't stand all this and because they didn't get what they want. But now, take Governor Wike, what he has invested in PDP, what he has done for PDP. Now, if he jumps to another party, is he going to go into the opposition, the APC, or is he going to join my brother here, the presidential candidate of APP? What is he going to look for? Is he going to look for? Definitely, there is no position to contest, but he has to wait and fight. When the fighting is finished, then he will know what to do. I mean, the party will know what to do with him. He is a strong stakeholder, and I don't think there is no the current acting BOT chairman.
Yes,
there is no conflict
has no solution.
That has no solution. So this one, the solution is just around the corner, because if I remember yesterday, after the gubernatorial candidates visited Wike, when they came, they are all in hearty this thing, and the person who spoke on their behalf,
that is the gubernatorial candidate from Kaduna.
From Kaduna,
yes,
he was convinced that this resolution is, the resolution of this conflict is around the corner.
Yes, so maybe I should bring IPAC chairman, right? Or your capacity was Inter-Party Advisory Council, meaning beyond your political party, you are chairing the umbrella of sort of almost all the political parties. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and let's now get to the discussion proper. Prof. Barrister, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, in the recap we had, let me start with you, Prof. What is your take on the back and forth of this senatorial ticket in Yobe? To see what INEC is saying, that they will now call to order their lawyers so that they will have synergy.
I don't understand. First of all, let me say something. You did say you were going to look at the legality of the crowdfunding argument.
Yeah.
I think that will be more to the lawyer. I'm going to look at the politics of it.
Yes, I will take that to him. And this one is just for 2 or 3 minutes, actually,
yes,
like icebreaker.
I'm coming to that.
Yes.
I think the perception is that, there are the untouchables in this society when you talk about that. So for the first time, it seems, not the first time, that INEC's position seems to resonate with the position of the people, and it will be a test to see how far INEC can be seen to resist pressure from big people. So if Machina insists that he has not, he was not just a placeholder, that he was the substantive winner, and because INEC seems to have been dilly-dallying. He seemed to have taken a position and some people came upon it, and he seems a little confused. This is the position for us to know, the time for us to know whether in the long run, because pressures are going to come from very big and important people. But the good thing now is that if you have an Android phone, you're a publisher, you're part of the people putting pressure on everybody. So INEC is sensitive to that.
Yeah.
And if it's able to, not just with Machina case, but also at Babio, if we're watching to see what happens, and that will be an indication of whether INEC can be said to be truly independent. It got itself into a certain position when people thought that it acquiesced, that it was pressure from the ruling party that made it shift. Remember the time he did some postponement which allowed the APC to gain some mileage to the disadvantage of other parties. People are watching. So, and it's not going to be easy. It's not, it is, you know, the times have changed. People say social media is not a force. It is. Everyone is a publisher now. And so we'll see how far it goes.
Okay, Prof. You see, INEC said its lawyer, one of the lawyers, you know, his presentation in the court contradicted what it actually wanted to achieve, because he said the proceedings, I mean the primaries there, was conducted by state chapter of the party, not monitored by the national body. And they have now somehow backtracked or disowned the lawyer. What is your take on this?
No, it's difficult for you to make an opinion over facts that you don't have. The processes in court would actually determine the issues that the court would determine. You see, people are laying a little bit of too much emphasis on INEC reacting to what may be termed as flawed primaries, but INEC's position could come in handy, if at all, any of the parties or any of the aspirants or the candidates infracted the rules against nominations. The most vital person in this instance are the candidates themselves or the aspirants themselves, those of them who are personally affected by the primaries, because the law gave them a leeway as to how to protect what I would call their own mandate. As long as you go through a process, a nomination process, and there was an election, and you win that particular election, ipso facto, for that very particular reason, you become the candidate of the party. And until you withdraw your candidature, the party can go ahead and play all sorts of tricks. If you put your foot down, the court would vindicate you. So to me, I would rather people would be egging on the candidates to, for once, you know, put down their foot and don't give in to pressures. If INEC goes beyond its own administrative functions and try to cave into the public pressure to say, oh, prosecute this, or take these steps, it's going to be a little bit dicey, because it may boomerang. Because at all times and for all purposes, INEC must be seen to be independent and neutral. It shouldn't descend into the fray, because there are two parties there. It's not just you, the candidate. A political party that wants to take the risk of throwing in a candidate that is not qualified will know the consequences, because the other party is there. At the end of the day, even if you have all the votes, all he needs to go is that on the day of the election, you are not qualified. And indeed, if evidence shows that you are not qualified, either by not being properly nominated or not having the requisite qualification for you to participate on the day of the election, hey, you lose those votes. And like the court would say, all those votes go to what? Not.
Thank you very much.
I just want to add something. There is even a bigger question, which maybe the lawyers, I expected it to be part of the conversation.
Okay, hopefully, yeah.
Which is that, I mean, around this Machina Lawan case, I'm not sure of the position of the Electoral Act. Does it permit a candidate to vie for two separate positions within a party? He submitted his nomination. He ran for the president's nomination, and then again he's going to the Senate. I can't remember the provisions of the electoral law, but I remember seeing something that you cannot, don't think is permissible. But I think I was expecting to be part of the...
But I think it is stated somewhere.
No, you see, what the law is saying is that you cannot be nominated twice by a political party, and you may not fill nomination form for the same office in two different parties or two different constituencies. The presidency, yes, he was an aspirant, but he lost, and therefore he was never really a candidate. So that by itself did not would not stop him from
vying for
another one. Let him go to the other one. It becomes an issue, and he becomes only an issue when he wins. If you don't win, you have no consequence to the law because you lost anyway.
Yes, we will definitely invite you.
The only place that the law would come in is, like I said, in the filling of your nomination forms, because there is a law against what? Double nominations. And that is, that you've been nominated for this constituency, you fill the forms, and you go ahead, you get nominated for the other constituencies for the same position.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your informed opinion on the biggest happening, let me put it mildly, today, the Machina case. Senate President. So, well, we will now get back to business of the day. Prof, let me start with you.
Okay.
Is it that, is it the economy that is affecting some of the candidates at home, that they feel they can now go abroad to seek for funding?
No, I think it will be a little bit misrepresentation to say in the case of the Labour Party that they went abroad to seek for funding. In fact, it's part of the tradition in American politics that if you're a candidate, a presidential candidate, and you want to show your weight, especially in terms of foreign policy, you go to meet, leaders in other countries. In this case, the candidate went to meet Nigerians in the diaspora. And I think it was a very clever way, because statistics showed that about 44% of its social media supporters and activists are based abroad. And because they are a very loud voice, don't forget that the diaspora remittance is 20 billion, a huge amount. So if you can tap into that big constituency, it's seen as an advantage. Crowdfunding has actually been there for a very long time. It gained currency in 1997 when some artists wanted a reunion and they didn't have some money. And then what they did is to ask their fans to contribute money. And that is how the Share artist came around. And then in 2008, Obama further popularized it. So it's simply being able to raise funds, tapping into small donors, not the big time donors. And people say it's actually a very big way of demonstrating your strength among the ordinary people. So that is the issue. It's not that, but then it raises other bigger questions. Lawyers then started throwing in Section 225 says, you cannot raise money abroad or return money abroad. And there are three contending perspectives on that one. If those who want to take a very strict literal interpretation of that Section 225, subsection 3A and B, that says you cannot, if you get it, you must send it to inform INEC within 21 days. Then no, that's one person. Other people will say, look, that perspective will tell you, look, it only applies to political party.